Hi class, so today we are going to be looking at one of the stories that goes along with Unit 8, Week 1, which is The King of the Winds. It's a retelling from the Odyssey, and it's all about this character Odysseus and how he gets from here to there, which is what we've been talking about all week, the past week, but all week for Unit 8, Week 1, and now we're going to go over the vocab really quickly for the whole week and then get to the story. So your first vocab word was journey, and a journey is a long trip. So you can take a journey around the world because it would take such a long time to get around the world. So think for a second. I'm going to ask some open-ended questions, which means I'm just going to ask them and you guys can answer them at home, okay? So is walking across the street to the store a journey? So think about, is walking across the street to the store a journey? And then think about why or why not. So why would it be a journey or why it wouldn't be a journey, okay? Next we have transportation. So before the Easter holiday, we talked about transportation and how it is a way we move from one place to another. So for me, my transportation, how I get to school, is a car. So think about this, and this should be easy because we know the answer to this question. Is a bus a type of transportation? That's right, but a bus is a type of transportation, okay? Next we have vehicle, which a vehicle is an object used to move things or people from place to place. So yesterday when we read from here to there, think about the different vehicles that we talked about. If a vehicle is an object used to move things or people from place to place, what was the first vehicle that we talked about in the story that we read yesterday from here to there? If you can remember that, it was a stagecoach. Remember, it was not a good vehicle because remember it said it took forever and it was bumpy and it wasn't very comfortable, right? And it didn't fit that many people. And then the last two, first we have wide. So when something is wide, it is big from one side to the other. So if a street is really wide, can a bunch of cars fit on that street? If it's super, super, super wide, can a bunch of cars fit? So think about that. And our last vocabulary word is fierce. So when something is fierce, it is very strong. So how would you keep safe in a fierce storm? When we have really bad weather, how would you stay safe in a fierce storm? Let's go ahead and begin our story, The King of the Winds. So it's a retelling of the Odyssey, which I told you about. So it's going to look a little different, but just judging by this right here, do we think that this is going to be a fictional story or is it going to be informational, right? You can look at my cards. Fictional or informational? I think it's probably fictional. All right. And be thinking about what can help Odysseus go from here to there. So once upon a time, a man named Odysseus traveled the world on a great adventure. He and his men sailed the seas in a grand ship. One day, Odysseus and his men sailed to an island. The island was ruled by Aeolus, the king of the winds. Aeolus proudly welcomed Odysseus and his men. "You are welcome here, my brave travelers. Please stay in my city." So Odysseus and his men stayed on the island. He told the king of the winds about his long journey on the ocean. Eventually, Odysseus was ready to return home. "I've been away from my family for a long time," he told the king. To help Odysseus get home, the king decided to give Odysseus a wonderful gift. Ooh, excited. Ooh. The king of the winds handed Odysseus a plain bag. Odysseus watched as the king filled the bag with many stormy and noisy winds. He used his great strength to tie the top tightly with the string so none of the bad winds could escape. "I have put all of the bad winds into this bag," said the king. "Now they will not bother you on your way home. Good luck on your long journey." thank you, said Odysseus as he took the bag. Since our transportation is a sailing ship, it will be much easier to travel without terrible winds blowing us in different directions. So Odysseus went back to the ship. His men prepared the ship to sail away from the island. Everyone on the island waved goodbye to Odysseus. Then the king of the winds used a good wind to blow Odysseus and his ship towards home. Odysseus and his men sailed for 9 days. The gentle winds helped to push their sea vehicle slowly and safely across the water. On the 10th day, Odysseus could see land from the ship. Soon they would be home with their families. Since Odysseus was tired from the long journey, he decided to take a short nap. But his men were not sleepy. They looked curiously at the big bag that Odysseus had carried onto the ship. I want to see what is in the bag, said one sailor. I bet it's filled with gold and silver. We should have some of that treasure for ourselves. Then one of the men ripped open the bag. Odysseus heard a loud noise and quickly woke up. He saw the open bag and the sailor staring at the angry winds rushing out of it. So these are those big bad winds that are coming out of the bag. Uh-oh. Oh no, shouted Odysseus as he jumped up and grabbed the bag. But it was too late. The stormy winds had already escaped from the bag. They swirled around the ship and flew into the sky. Soon there was a terrible storm. The fierce storm lasted for a very long time. As the storm raged, the ship changed course and sailed away from Odysseus' home. We are moving back toward the island of the king of the winds, cried Odysseus as he stared at the rolling waves. After sailing on the wide sea for many days, Odysseus and his men gradually reached the island. Odysseus told the king of the winds what had happened, and he begged him for help. But the king of the winds would not help Odysseus. I will not help you this time. You must get home on your own, he said. So Odysseus and his men had no choice. Once again they left the island, but this time they had no good winds to carry their ship, and it would take them much longer to get home. The sailors realized that what they did was wrong. They were truly sorry that their curiosity to see what was in the bag caused such trouble. They learned an important lesson, and Odysseus and his men finally made it home after all. So think about that. What was the lesson that the men on the ship learned? After they had made it almost all the way home, and Odysseus told them not to open the bag, and the king of the winds told them not to open the bag, they were too curious and they ended up opening the bag and going all the way back home, right? They needed to have some patience and they needed to not be so curious because they were almost home and they would have made it. And then the question that we asked, what can help Odysseus go from here to there? So what helped Odysseus first go from here to there? It was the wind. It was all the good wind helped Odysseus go from here to there. And what vehicle did Odysseus use? It was a ship, a nice big sail ship. All right, so that's going to be the last story that we read for Unit 8, Week 1. Tomorrow we are going to start Unit 8, Week 2 with 2 new sight words and brand new stories. So can't wait to read them. Bye.